Walker here from Psychologies magazine. Delighted to see you all today. I am joined by the wonderful Kate Graham, UKCP psychotherapist, and today we're going to be talking about how to look after yourself when you're looking after other people. So I don't know if anyone else out here resonates with this theme, because many of us have been in lockdown. We have maybe been running our businesses, looking after our teams, looking after our families. There's a lot of mothers out there who have been kind of buried under I saw a fantastic picture the other day, Kate, of a mother who had this big pile of laundry and who just couldn't manage it anymore and just thought, I can't do it anymore. I really can't. So I think many of us have been feeling, if we're in the caring profession, maybe that you have been in the NHS, that you're a nurse or you're a therapist or a counsellor, and you're in the caring profession, how do we look after ourselves? So that's where I want to start. So Kate, thank you so much for joining us today. Delighted to see your smiling face. Help us, help us, help us. So how do we look after ourselves when we're looking after other people? Where do we start?
Well, I think we have to start by giving ourselves permission in the first place, because it's so easy to talk about looking after yourselves, but it's actually quite hard to do it when it comes to it. There's always something else that needs to be done, that needs to come first. So I think actually remembering that the aeroplane advice, that oxygen mask idea, you're supposed to put it on yourself first before you help anyone else. I know it's hackneyed, but it's helpful to remember it, because I find unless I've got a lot of space around in my head, it's really quite hard to remember to actually say, no, I really want to do this. I want to do this for myself. I need to have a break now. I need to go and just have some peace and quiet. Or I need to go out for a walk. But I know those things are really important. So I do them. So I give myself permission to do it. So I think the very first stage is actually just saying, yeah, it's okay. It doesn't make me weak and vulnerable and hopeless. It's actually really important.
Okay, so the first thing is acknowledging that we, that it's okay to look after ourselves. That's the first thing.
It's really basic. Yeah.
And I think kind of maybe many of us know that. However, the actual reality of it, well, maybe I'm making an assumption there. Maybe many of us don't know that it's okay. So yes, what you're saying is that we need to look after ourselves, to put our oxygen mask on first, which is important.
So it's not just knowing it up here, it's actually knowing it in here. That actually it really matters that we look after ourselves. And I think the way we get to that point is just really just by stopping a bit. So just taking a few moments just to stop, when you stop and have a cup of tea, put your legs up. I mean, literally putting your legs up is actually always a really good way to just really come back down into yourself. You lie on the floor and put your legs up on the sofa or something like that, or up the wall. That just really lets your feelings come back down into yourself. And then maybe just breathe. We don't always breathe very often when we're anxious. Sort of breathing fast up here. Actually just need to bring that down. A bit more way of breathing down into our stomachs, a bit more slowly.
I mean, I think that, that for me, that's a really great yoga move, isn't it? The kind of, you sort of lie on the floor, and you put your legs up the wall. And I know that when I'm trying to sleep, or if I'm having trouble sleeping, that's a great one. And as you say, it kind of grounds you on some level or another. So there's a piece of, it's almost when you're running so fast that I know I haven't got time to look after myself. That's what I think. I've got but the acknowledgement of that everybody else suffers. It's not only me that suffers, but the people who I'm trying to look after suffer as well. No one wins by not looking after ourselves. So the acknowledgement of that, and then what you're saying is almost to slow yourself down, almost to kind of break the pattern. And by that is legs up the hall, legs up, literally legs up, and to be thinking about that. And so that's, I mean, it's, even that small thing is huge. It's huge because we were going so fast all the time, to actually think that. And then you said something about noticing your feelings, coming back to your feelings. Tell me about that, because I run away from my feelings all the time about how I'm feeling. How do you feel?
Yeah, that's about stopping again, isn't it? It really is about just stopping, just breathing for a bit, and just starting to notice what's actually going on. So we talk about feelings, they're not necessarily up here, they're in our body as well. I mean, a really sort of straightforward way to look at it might be just to, just sit down, take a few breaths and gradually let your breath out, and just ask yourself, well, if I was a traffic light, what light would I be showing right now? Would I be green, or amber, or am I actually more in lockdown? Am I jammed up solid? Am I red? Just sort of noticing roughly where you are, just to give yourself a sort of, or that's 1 to 3. I mean, some people like to have a sort of scale of 1 to 5, with 5 going off the end of the scales and one sort of being really closed down. So it's a sort of sense of, but I think the traffic lights are nice because they're visual, they're colourful, and I just think, well, okay, where would I be on that today, right now?
And red is just kind of closed down and not receptive and not feeling anything, numb. Is that what you mean? And green is in flow.
Green's ready to go, and yeah, you're. I think green's pretty happy. I didn't really think about what I was wearing before I set this off, but it was the clothing that reached out to me. So I think there's also something about the clothes you're drawn to as well, and what colours you like, and do you feel like wearing colours today, because they can really cheer you up too. But I think there's just red might be sort of low mood, stuck, jammed solid, because you're going so fast, and there's just, you like the picture of the person underneath all their laundry. I think she was on a red.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what me wearing orange means today.
I don't want to get into that.
I'm in that kind of transition state. But okay, so we've slowed down, we're feeling our feelings, we're noticing we need to take care of ourselves, being compassionate. But how do we, so often it feels like other people's needs are more important than mine. That's the kind of, that's the hole I fall into. I have to look after my team, I have to look after my family, I have to look after my boyfriend, because they're more important than me. How do I reclaim my power back and think, actually, it's really important that I look after myself?
Yeah, because it is, isn't it? And all those important relationships, I think it's so hard. The first thing is just to really acknowledge that so often we, particularly as women, are not trained to look after ourselves. We are trained to be in relationship to others, to be a good mum, to be a good daughter, to be a good partner, to be a good granddaughter, whatever, all of those things. We're trained to be good in relation to other people. So I think we first have to acknowledge that it's actually quite hard to say, okay, and I matter too. So then I think it's sort of about noticing what your fear is. I had an experience one Christmas ago. We were big Christmas, lots of family there, and I was determined that everyone was going to get out for a walk every day. I thought it was really, really important. So I was rushing around organising everybody until basically a bit of a revolution. But the point was that I wasn't really responding to my own needs at all. What I actually wanted to do was slope upstairs and go and have a sleep, because I was really tired. But I was in this frenetic sort of, no, we've all got to keep going, we've all got to have a good time, and it's up to me to make sure that everybody has a good time, really up to there. And once I acknowledged that that wasn't actually what I needed, I just let go of it. The world didn't fall apart. And I think we can convince ourselves that we're completely indispensable.
Yeah.
And that sort of fear, for me, is a bit of a fear of, if I'm not there busy looking out for everybody, there'll be chaos, there'll be loss, I've got to have my eye out all the time. But actually, that's very distrusting of other people. It's not giving them space to flourish, to have their own space. And it's actually not giving me the space to flourish either. So there's a lot about giving ourselves psychological space so that we can flourish, and other people can flourish as well. And actually, sometimes we're looking after others more by giving them that bit of space and a bit of trust, if that makes sense.
I think absolutely. And the whole thing about what it came up when you were talking there was that my need to be needed. And and as you say, which doesn't really help anyone, because it's very much then about me interfering and then not allowing people like my son to flourish, you know, and finding his own way and doing his own thing. So I think it's interesting to look at perhaps what's driving your behavior to, you know, as you say, to organize everyone, and how trusting that people can get on with it, you know, can get on with it themselves, can't they? You know, they can do that.
Yeah, it's very empowering for other people. And it's not saying that people don't need your attention. They do, but they need your full attention when you feel resourced to give it. The 5 minutes worth of real attention to your teenage son, or my teenage son, is worth more than a quarter of an hour of not quite there, just sort of there, but not really wanting to be there, because actually you want to be doing something else yourself.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're a psychotherapist. We have many readers and people who are watching this video who are also either therapists or counselors or carers or coaches. And for many of us, it's the work we adore. We absolutely love doing this work. But how can we sort of do this work? Because when you're working as a therapist or as an NHS nurse or a doctor or whatever you're doing in a caring profession, it can sometimes kind of rob you of, you know, I think it's called compassion fatigue. You know, you get exhausted. How can we, if we are in the caring profession, how can we look after ourselves and do the work we love, but still not destroy ourselves in the process?
I mean, this is a huge topic, isn't it? And there's lots to it. And the reason we burn out is for a range of reasons. But I think this sense of coming really accepting that it has an impact on us. I mean, for me, I had to, as I trained, as I coached first, I kept noticing that I was really taking on board stuff. I was walking away with other people's stuff because I'm sensitive, I'm open, I'm empathetic, and I think it's recognizing that empathy can come with a catch. So you can very easily walk away with other people's stuff, particularly if it resonates with some of your own stuff. It actually almost physically lands in your body receives it, and then it's sort of a couple of days later, I might actually start thinking, I feel completely exhausted or really depressed, a feeling that's come out of nowhere and it's not mine. And so the way I cope with that is it's a sort of like a somatic physical hygiene thing almost. It's just to sit and imagine that I am each of my clients and just notice what my body does. Sometimes I do it while I'm walking, so I end up sort of stomping around or feeling stuck and I can't move. Or I used to do it while swimming in the days when we were allowed to go swimming. But just really embody the client and see what it is that I'm carrying around with me. And that really helps. It often gives me a lot more insight into what's going on for the client, but it also helps to separate, this is me and this is them. Just because I really have care for them and I'm concerned for them doesn't mean that I am them. It splits, because I think boundaries and understanding how your own boundaries are, being able to say no and say that this is you and this is me, is really important for people who are working in this sort of one-to-one type work, where it's and with that quality of empathy, where it's so easy to take on other people's stuff.
I mean, boundaries, I think, you know, we could do a whole series of broadcasts about boundaries. You know, I find boundaries such an interesting subject. So for people perhaps who are not in the caring profession, but know that they're perhaps over nurturing with their families or over helping with their friends, what's a great technique or tip that you can give us? Just, I know we haven't got much time left, but around putting a boundary in place about, as you say, this is me and this is you. You're responsible for that, and I'm responsible for this. Is there any kind of really good therapeutic technique that, you know, you can teach us today that will help? I know we've only got 30 seconds, but help me.
Just say no, I think is really the sort of, but it's saying no with a smile, and it's also imagining saying no. I think there's an awful lot we can do to sort of pre-exercise. So imagine what it would be like to say, well, maybe not today, what about tomorrow? To start to negotiate, to start to say, so not to be a complete pushover if that's your issue, or internally. So you're practicing internally, and noticing how you feel and what comes up for you before you feel the need to start pushing that outside as well.
Yeah, I know I've been doing that a lot recently. It's been kind of my work over the last couple of years, as of trying to stop being such a people pleaser and a pushover, and trying to put boundaries in place. And I think finding, as you say, the vocabulary has often helped me. It's like, oh, thank you so much for asking me, but I'm sorry, I can't help you today, or whatever it is. But just finding those stock phrases has really helped me in the moment. Or if sometimes I get that kind of freeze thing of and sort of saying, oh, I can't make a decision today, can I get back to you, which just gives me a bit of breathing space as well. Just and
behind it is giving yourself permission that actually it is okay for you to say no. And I think that's what that internal practicing really helps to sort of build that with you.
Yeah, and it is okay to say no. And then what I notice is that I still, even to this day, I'm the editor-in-chief of Psychologies, and I still feel really uncomfortable. I've done lots of inner work, I've had therapy, I've had coaching, I coach, but I still feel that very feel really uncomfortable saying no, because I want to help, I want to serve. That's part of my, whatever my makeup is that, and it makes me feel guilty. But I know that otherwise I burn out and I feel rotten and then get resentful, and then my giving does not come from a good place. It comes from a horrible place.
So, and this is all about being able to do more of what's really important to you. Ultimately, it's not about taking that away.
So I think what you're teaching us today, Kate, is really valuable stuff for all of those. I know the Psychologies readers are incredibly kind, compassionate, brilliant women, and so many of them struggle with this. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. We're doing our 1 p.m. broadcast most days, so do tune in and to talk to different experts and different psychotherapists, therapists, experts, coaches. Thank you so much, Kate, and I will speak to you again soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.